one thing that came out was McGregor teammate Artem Lobov fought Michael Johnson a couple of weeks back, and the reason I bring this up is I'm not too sure if you've seen it, Chuck. Your article got a bit of backlash from a head coach in SBG.
Somebody say something about what
happened. What did you think reading that and the article in itself? What I took from the article was you were referencing I can't speak Artem by basically saying he's the GOAT, and there's this thing going around about Artem, he'll fight anyone, he'll do whatever, and there's plenty of memes and stuff about him being the GOAT, and your article took that point and went through it and sort of dispelled it, I suppose is a polite way, but I felt in your style of writing, the way you write, you have quite little. The way you narrate and tongue in cheek, and it's quite enjoyable. But the head coach, Mr. John Kavanagh, wasn't the biggest fan of it. Did you find you got a lot of backlash from that, or?
It's funny because I kind of how do you say this? I know there's some sensitivity to that group. But I've written nothing but glowing things. I have to be completely honest. I've written nothing but glowing things about John Kavanagh. I can't remember a time where I've ever said really anything about him other than good things. And McGregor, it's you flow with how it rolls. Now, Artem Lobov, I've never actually written about, but I have paid attention, obviously, like anybody else from afar, enough to say, like, it's really strange. Now, the subtext of this piece, as you mentioned, it was more tongue-in-cheek. I always go in for some subtext that's kind of funny, like some levity behind it. And the subtext of this one was, why is the UFC, it was more toward the UFC. It was like, why did the UFC keep booking this guy into main event and co-main event spots, given his record, which I pointed out was below 500. I pointed out a couple times, subpar 500. The bottom line with that, man, is I didn't really go in. It wasn't a hit piece. I feel like the response from Kavanagh was that I had written this hit piece. Maybe it was because of the timing, because it came out. Obviously, he loses. You don't want to. I'm not trying to kick the guy when he's down. You're pointing out at this point, though, kind of the absurdity of the charades going on, right? You're saying, like, why is this guy getting ahead of these other people? It's obviously his associations to McGregor. So the piece was really about that. It's just this ongoing thing. You're pointing it out something, and basically you're winking at the situation, because like you guys mentioned, people call him the GOAT all the time. It's like he has become a little bit of a fun thing for people to rally around, like he's something more than he is. So basically, it was all that. Now, when Kavanagh wrote, I kind of half expected that there might be some sensitivity to this. So when I saw it, I wasn't completely surprised. And I did see all the people kind of coming at me. But what do you do, man? I own it. I wrote the piece. I know how I meant it. If people read it the way that John Kavanagh did, then I feel like I failed to an extent of communicating the way I really wanted it, because it really was not a hit piece. It was not meant to be that way. But I used the context, honestly. I used the context in that piece of his record. That was the context I used for the piece. Like I was saying, because of his record, he doesn't deserve this. When Kavanagh was writing about, like, waste of life stuff, or these, because you're a writer, he's not calling me out. He's calling all writers out. He's calling everybody out. And he's actually building his own hierarchy in his head that, a fighter is so much more noble than these writers. That sort of thing, I'm always like, get out of here, Yeah. So it doesn't bother, man. If he blocked me on Twitter and all this, I'm like, have at it, man. Because whatever was being aimed at me as petty is being exemplified by him. So by all means.
You blocked on Twitter. You're in a very special group.
Yes. I've heard since. I've heard he blocks multiple. There's a lot of people that I was talking to just when I was in New York that have said that they're blocked by him too. So I guess I wear it a little bit as a badge of honor. But if he sees this for whatever reason, I was truly not trying to disrespect. John Kavanagh. I know that much. And I was playing up. You guys know my stuff. That I wouldn't be on here if I didn't do things a certain way. It's the way I write, man. You try to blend some irreverence. I try not to be, I'm not going to write puff pieces, but I'm certainly trying to you're writing for a broader readership, man. You're either making them laugh or you're making them think. You're doing those type of things. So maybe the timing, maybe there should have been a little more grace, but it certainly wasn't meant to be a hit piece.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't get that at all from it. I got to be honest. Like when I read through it, and it again brings it back to your style of writing. I think if you're familiar with your writing, you know how you're reading and what you're reading.